All right, hello. My name is Jazzy Walker. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas. My dad was in the Air Force, so I was actually born in Germany. And then he was stationed in Wichita at a huge Air Force base. And the family, we all were raised there for the majority of our childhood. I have two sisters and a little brother. And my mom is a very sweet stay-at-home mom, and all of us kids did lots of activities. 1996, I think, is a great place to start. It's when my passion for gymnastics was awakened. I don't know if you know about the 1996 Olympics, the Magnificent Seven. Shannon Miller, Dominique Montciano, Carrie Strug broke her leg on the vault, and then did the vault again with a broken leg and won the Olympics for America. Great story, amazing time for American gymnastics. It's when the dynasty started, when we started winning. I fell in love with it. I was absolutely obsessed. I then decided I was a gymnast, whether my family liked it or not. I would flip around over the couch, climb the walls, flip off the walls, and basically force my parents to put me in gymnastics, or they would risk me killing myself at home. So I had to ask them for years, probably like 1 or 2 years before they actually put me in real gymnastics where I could start training for the Olympics after that. So definitely that was the beginning of my love, my passion, my hard work and obsession, life obsession with movement and pushing the body to the limits. I think that it was a great role model to have, the Magnificent Seven, but also a very hurtful role model to have as well. As you know, Carrie Strug went past the physical limits of what people should do when they're playing a sport. She sacrificed her body for her sport. So that was my introduction to gymnastics, that you do anything and everything to win, whether you're hurt, whether you're in pain, whether you're causing problems for yourself, you do what's needed for your team and for the sport. So from there, I trained 5 days a week for 4 to 6 hours a day. Definitely I get home from school around like 4:10, be at the gymnastics practice by 4:30, 5 o'clock at the absolute latest. And then you would train all the way till 9:30 p.m. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I went through the ranks really fast. So the first levels 1 through 3, you're not competing. You're just going to do basically recreational. You're training to be part of the competition team. And that's like 1 to 2 hours a day. And then once you make team, which I did in a year, and usually it takes people 3 to 4 years, then you start training 4 hours a day once you make team, which is level 6. Or level 4 is team, and that's when you're training like 3 to 4 hours. Then you move up in the ranks to level 7, which is optionals, and that's when you're in the big training session. So then it goes from 3 to 4 hours to 4 to 6 hours, and they also add on Saturdays. So now I'm training Monday through Friday and Saturday as well. 4 to 6 hours Monday through Friday, 2 hours on Saturday, plus all of my at-home time as well. So in the morning, I'd wake up before school and have a little stretch session. And then after practice as well, I'd have another balance and stretch session at home by myself. So I was very passionate, lots of training, yeah.
Were you natural when you started out? Were you really good versus the average, another person who started just like you?
Yes and no. Yes, I was very good at all of the power gymnastics, flipping, tumbling, doing different things on the different events, but my flexibility was not natural. So I always struggled with flexibility. It was always the big stressor of everything. I would get in trouble at practice. I would have to run laps. I would have to have extra stretch time with the coaches. So I always had that extra time at home where I would stretch even more because I was struggling in that area. But anything that required me to jump or flip or do a skill with my body, I was great at it. Anything that required flexibility, little scary. So So I had to work extra hard at my flexibility always. So no, not a natural in that part, but everything else, yes. But I was always willing to put in the extra time. You know, Philippians 4:13, I was raised very Christian, so my parents were very about the Bible. So Philippians 4:13 was my Bible verse growing up. You can do anything through Christ who strengthens you. Everything is possible. So I definitely would quote that one to myself, and make your weaknesses your strength. So even though flexibility was my weakness, I made it my strength by putting in that extra time, putting in that extra practice, and making sure that, you know, whenever I showed my splits or showed my flexibility set, that it looked flawless. And then from there, I made it all the way to level 9. There's 10 levels in gymnastics. At level 9 or 10 is when people start to really consider themselves Olympic bound. You've put in years and years of practice. You're going to regionals, you're going to state competitions, you're getting your name in magazines, you're getting your name in papers, and then you go to a training camp. You quit school and you go to school only homeschool, and you are using, you're training all day, 7 days a week, 24/7 you're training. Yeah.
Did it get annoying at some point where you say, you know what, this is too much? I love it, but this is too much.
It did get to that point. This is like level 9 or 10 is when you really like are having these issues where, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this my life? Like, because literally it is your life. You have time for nothing else. Even now, people ask me like, oh, you remember that show? You remember that back in the day? I was like, ugh. I remember nothing. All I did was train in gymnastics, homework, train in gymnastics, homework, train in gymnastics, homework. That was my life. So level 9 or 10, I definitely was trying to figure out if this is definitely what I want to do. But there's that sunken cost philosophy where you've put so much time, effort, and energy into this, there's no way that you can quit or give up. But also that's when a lot of scary things start to happen. You start being pushed to limits that make you very nervous, which is what caused my eventual injury. I think I was having some fear issues and my flexibility issues. I think I had ripped some muscles, and my hips were weaker than they should have been. 13, 14. So I was deciding, am I going to go to high school at East High, which I'm not a huge fan of school anyways. Like, I'm always at gymnastics or at home practicing, and school is just like, whatever. I get good grades because it's needed for me to practice gymnastics. That's the deal I had with my parents. They were very about me getting good grades. If I did not get good grades and I could not go to a gymnastics meet, I threw many fits when I got like a C and they're like, no practice today. I would be very upset. That was my punishment. But yeah, I loved it. I was the one pushing myself. And I did have doubts and unsureties because gymnastics is one of those sports. There's so many people who are really good, and the self-doubt comes in, not whether or not I love it, but whether or not I'm good enough to go all the way, and whether or not I want to continue to put even more time and energy into this thing that I may not succeed at. The goal is to get to the Olympics. And getting to the Olympics, you have to go to the right training camps so that you can get scouted by the right people so that they see you. And then you get invited to the Olympic trials. Just because you're winning all of the competitions doesn't mean that you get invited to the Olympic trials. You have to be seen by Marta Caroli, Bella Caroli, one of their coaching staff team, one of their recruiters goes out to the different training camps that exist and kind of scouts out the different gymnasts that they want to invite to the trials. They'll go to state, they'll go to regionals. So if you're winning state, definitely helpful. But if you don't get seen.
Were you seen?
I was seen at a state competition. I was very excited about it. And that's when we started having practices that were really pushing me to get a routine together that would be show-stopping for them for the state meet. So they saw me at regionals, and it was state was coming up, and we were training for state. And when you're training for a big competition, state or nationals, you change your routine to add difficulty. So you want to increase the difficulty so that Now that you're seen, now you're going to show all of your best moves. So I was pretty excited, and we were training a back handspring, layout, step out on the beam. My regular routine just had like a back handspring series and 2 a layout step out, because you need 3 in your flight series. And now it's going to make it harder with 2 flight skills instead of just the 1 flight skill. I wasn't sure I was ready. I was pretty scared, and I would like shake before I would go on the beam, and then hands on, relax, get in flow state. So I was training that at practice. It was a week before the meet, and I did my back handspring, layout step out. The second layout step out, I landed on the side of the beam. So my foot landed on the side, and I slipped off and landed on my hip, and then bounced to the other side, hit my hip on the front end of the beam, and then like fell on my face on the floor. So I'm laying there, like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if anything's wrong. And then your coaches, classic gymnastics, classic Russian athlete, get back in there, tape it up. Do you need some ice? And then we're going to do it again right away. Yeah. Yeah, welcome to gymnastics. So there was definitely something wrong, but just like Carrie Strug, you pick up, you get some ice, and you get back in there right away. Who cares what's wrong with your body? You're strong mentally. Mind over matter, mind over matter. Even if you know in your mind and your heart and your body, I should do nothing else today. I should pack it up and go home. But you've been to the peer pressure. I'm 13, I'm 14. They're adults.
Is it because they didn't think it was that serious?
They didn't think it was that serious.
They didn't know how serious it was.
They may have known. I just don't think they care.
So it's all about them.
It's all about them. I was seen. I was their golden nugget. You know, I was doing well.
You were their ticket.
I was their ticket. Exactly. Just like Carrie Strug. It's about them. It's not about you.
They don't give a fuck about
They
you.
really don't give a fuck about you. And I think that's something that I definitely realized after the fact. When you're there, you think they truly care. You know, they really want you to do your best. They really want you to win because they believe in you, you know? So it's kind of like they are your family. You're with them more than you're with your family, more with your friends, more than you're with anyone else in your life. So you trust them implicitly with everything. So, I mean, for example, I worked out on a broken toe for 3 months until I took it to my mom. I was like, I don't think my toe is supposed to be green. And she's like, oh my God, it's huge, it's green, it's turning colors, my toe is hanging weird. She's like, how have I not seen this? I'm like, I've been taping it up. It's great. I went to the doctor, I had a fracture in 3 different places. And they're like, yeah, you've been breaking this over and over for like the last 2 months. How have you not come in to see us? I'm like, well, my coaches said it's fine, so it's fine. You know, you work through the pain. They're like, it doesn't hurt. I'm like, who cares? Pain is pleasure.
Did you ever start doubting them?
I think right there, not until my last injury. I mean, you have injuries throughout gymnastics. It's a dangerous sport, you know? And I've coached it as well. And so I've kind of seen the other side when like people cry over nothing. You know, like you just scraped your hand, like you'll be fine. It hurts a little bit, but you can get back in there. But there's a difference between broken bones and like scratches, scrapes, and bruises. And it wasn't until like I literally fractured my hips on the beam. They watched me fracture my hips on the beam. It was a really bad fall. Like everyone in the gym was like, ooh, staring. Like it was obvious something was wrong. And for them to have me get back on the beam and do my hardest skill that I really am struggling with.
So did you get back on the beam?
I tried. I did back on the beam and I did like a back handspring. And then I was like, yeah, that's all I can do. Because like to do the layout, you have to set and takes a lot of power from your legs to be able to do so. Thankfully, I am body aware enough not to put myself in a skill that I know that I'm going to crash onto my head. Like I already fractured my hips and I went to go for the other one and I just jumped off the beam. Because I was like, there's no set there. There was no power there. You feel it. You feel your muscles activating. And I could not do it. So I refused to do it. And I got in a huge thing with my coaches because they were very upset with me for not trying again. And Yeah.
What was it like?
Ooh.
You walk off.
I jumped off the beam. They told me they were really mad at me, giving me like all these, when you get in trouble, you have conditioning to do. So you're supposed to run laps. I was supposed to run like 30 laps, do like 100 V-ups and like 100 push-ups because I was being a baby. And they played me the tiniest violin that exists. Like, oh, poor Jazzy. She thinks she's so hurt. You know, and everybody's teasing me and acting like I'm being a huge baby, which when you're in a sport, any sport, no one likes that. It makes them feel like horrible. But I think at that point is when I started to realize, like, they don't care about me. They're not rooting for me. They want to use me. You know, like I physically cannot do this skill. I don't even think I could do this layout on the floor right now. And they want me to do it on this high beam. Like, and they just watched me like completely wipe out.
Did you get angry with them? Did you feel like, I want to beat the shit out of him?
Internalization. I think this was the beginning of my downward spiral. I internalized everything, you know? I felt like I was the broken one. I was the problem. I was the one who was weak. You know, I took their criticism as fact, as truth.
They brainwashed you?
They brainwashed me. Very much so. Very much so. I felt very brainwashed, you're under their power. I've been working out with them since I was 6 years old, every day, you know? And like in the beginning, when you're like going through the levels like insanely quickly, I went through 1 through 3 in 6 months, you know, and usually that each level takes a year for people. I went through 4 or 5 in a year. So they were very praised. They gave me lots of praise, lots of attention. So you feel like a star. You know, so then when you break and you crash and you don't get back up because through other injuries that were very serious, I was like, tape it up. I'll do a one-handed back handspring. It's fine. It was a different dynamic. The dynamic had changed. And instead of thinking they were the problem, I now thought I was the problem. So I very much internalized everything. Yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with them?
No. The gym is closed, actually. I went back home for Christmas lately to Kansas, and the gym is closed.
Why? What happened?
I think they went under. They went bankrupt. Yeah.
Does that make you feel good?
Mixed feelings. Bittersweet. Like, my home is gone. Number one. Every time I went back to Kansas, I had to at least just drive by. Like, I probably wouldn't go in because I had a lot of deep emotions about that place. I mean, your blood, sweat, and tears are literally in the floor. But I couldn't ever go back in there. Terrifying. I didn't actually go in by myself. I brought my mom with me because that was the other thing. Parents weren't really allowed with you in the gym, so they could really hone in and control you. I think it's a huge technique that abusive coaches use to separate you, just like abusers in the family. They separate you from your parents, they separate you from your family, so that the only person you have to turn to is them, you know? And on the outside, it looks great and grand, but then if you come on the inside, yeah.
Play a good
her ass off to get to like level 8, level 9. She's sending you back with the babies, the level 3s who can't even do a cartwheel. Like, come on. And I'm doing flips that they can only dream of. So yeah, that was one of the big emotional things that they would use is they'd literally send you to work out with the 5 and 6-year-olds as to embarrass you. Yeah. But I brought my mom in to quit for me because I was having issues with them, and my parents kind of saw my depression as I was internalizing all these negative things that were happening. State was coming up, and I decided not to go because I was like, there's no way I'm going to state in front of all these recruiters that are here to see me, and I'm not ready. I can't do anything. I can barely walk.
We're talking about recovery though.
Recovery now. There was no recovery in the beginning. There was just a lot of burying. Emotionally, mentally, physically, all of the above. I just literally buried it. I told my mom that, you know, like, they were being mean to me. I didn't like it anymore. I was getting headaches every time that I would come to gymnastics, like huge migraines. So I just think it was my stress physically manifesting. And of course, my hips hurt really bad because there was something wrong with them. I wasn't telling my parents because, you know, Vince and Cindy said I'm fine. So something's wrong with me inside. Like, it's my head that's the problem. Nothing's wrong with my body. That's what they said. So it took about maybe a month before I brought my mom in and told her, please tell them that I don't want to do it anymore, that I'm done, because I'm broken and I can't do it. I can't do what they're asking me to do. I physically cannot do what they're asking me to do. So she quit for me, and that's when I think my parents kind of saw their true colors for the first time, because he started saying some really mean things to me in front of her as I'm like trying to explain through my mom that like I'm having a hard time. He was like, oh, you're such a quitter. You're such limiting yourself. You don't understand what the meaning of this is. You don't understand the opportunities I'm giving you.
Were they Russian?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yes, they were. 100% Russian. Yeah, they were really Russian.
Russian born or Russian descendant?
Russia born and immigrated here. They were actually friends of Bella and Marta Karolyi, had pictures of them on the wall with them. So he's like, look at all of my connections. Look at all of my history in gymnastics. I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. You're a problem causer. You're a problem starter. Everyone here hates you. And I'm like, then why won't you let me leave? Yeah. So it was an emotional time, and my mom kind of looked like, whoa, does he talk to you like this often? And I'm like, always. Constantly. He's like, no wonder you can barely make it with the threes. And I'm like, yo, I'm crushing them. What you mean? Like, even like broken, I can do everything they're doing plus a million times more. They're level 3, I'm level 9, you know? And so from there, I was like, yeah, even my parents were like, either way, even if you start to feel better, you're not going back to that place. You're not going back to that place. So then from there, I had a huge downward spiral. Emotionally, you don't know who you are.
You identify with being
a gymnast. I am the gymnast. If anyone's talking about me, oh, the gymnast, that daughter? Yeah. Oh, the gymnast, that friend? Yeah. And now I'm not the gymnast. Who am I? What am I? What do I do with my life? What do I do with my time? And not only am I no longer the gymnast, I can't even do the things that I've been training for my whole life. I can barely walk, you know? My hips are hurting. I'm hiding my limb. You're pretty body aware. You have great compensation patterns. Gymnastics teaches you how to compensate very well. If you ever watch the Olympics, notice, take a look. All the gymnasts have tape freaking everywhere. They're taped up. They're like doing some type of roll, some type of like self-therapy because they're broken and they're working out on like broken things. And that's just the norm. It is the absolute norm, which is disgusting. It's a problem. These women are put in this place where they're locked away for hours with these abusive coaches. The Me Too movement. Thankfully, I had no sexual abuse. I can't say the same for maybe other people on my team. I don't know, but it's crazy, you know. I wouldn't put it past them. Have weird meetings with gymnasts that would be like called in after stretches.
Was it a certain type?
It was always like the little blonde ones. So like, you know, there's the power gymnasts that are like Simone Biles, Vanessa Adler, like Shawn Johnson, the other one who won the Olympics. And they do like a lot of big flips that are really high and technical and gorgeous. But then you have the beauty gymnasts who are much more about like the dynamics of their hands, making sure that their presentation is perfect. They might not do the hardest skills, but they do their skills perfectly and beautifully. So they tend to be like skinnier and have like longer, leaner muscles. They're not like freaking boss hosses like, you know, me and Simone. And that was definitely his type. Like he would dote on them and like they're naturally flexible. So they're more like the rhythmic gymnast vibe, but they are in like artistic gymnastics. You know, rhythmic gymnastics is the one where they like put the ball behind their head and hold it with their leg, which is not part of artistic at all. He would definitely have extra time for those girls. They would come in earlier, stay late, and come to his office, and they would have meetings. Yeah,
was?
I was never called into one of those meetings because I guess he thought I didn't need the extra help according to them. And these girls were paying for private, so they deserve the extra help. So it tended to be like the more well off. And at the time, I definitely thought it was more like it was just private lessons. You know what I mean? And private advice. And like, I thought that he was like helping them to get into magazines and get them like different interviews and things like that. But after the Me Too movement happened, I was like, that's kind of strange. I don't know if anything happened, but it's definitely a possibility.
Did you hear anything?
So I can only speculate. But I feel like something may have happened. Those are weird meetings to have with a 10-year-old girl by yourself at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the office.
Was there a bed in the office?
There was like couches and like a desk, and like behind there was like the snack bar. And he would like pull the curtain and close everything when they were having their meetings. So very possible. Very possible. But I don't want to say yes because I was never involved, thankfully. He was just very mean to me. That's all. And like they would literally like push you down in the splits, things like that. Like, you know, the usual Russian stuff. So when I quit and now I have all of this free time to be alone with my head, stuff like that is going through it. Like, you know, I never got any meetings. I was never good enough anyways. I'm broken. I'm not a real gymnast. This time and effort was wasted on me. All of the money my parents put into gymnastics was wasted on me. It's a very expensive sport. So then I have my sisters and brothers very upset with me because I wasted the family money. I was supposed to go to the Olympics.
How much was it?
It's like at least $10,000 they spent on gymnastics.
In total?
In total, at least.
Over
and that's
how many years?
over 12 years. That's very lowballing.
That's
you know,
not that much.
That's not that much, but it was more than that for sure. I mean, imagine it was like $200 to $300 a month, and that was just for classes. Then you have the competitions. You're driving to the competitions back and forth, plus the hotel stays when you're driving to the competitions, plus the food, plus the uniforms, plus the different donations that you do to the group. Because there's like PTA for like gymnastics. You know, they have we have bake sales and stuff like that. So, I mean, as a kid, I wrote down $10,000 because to me that was like a lot of money. But in reality, it was probably much more like $50K, more or less, because uniforms were very expensive. I remember even at one meet, I don't know why, but they were like $200 for this freaking leotard, plus the embellishment on top of that was like another $150.
Where would you buy it?
You have to buy it through them. So GK makes all the team leotards, and then your coaches order it, and they kind of just give you the bill.
And how long does it last?
It lasts like 2 years.
Okay.
That's maximum. But if you skip
bad, right?
It's not bad. So 5 and 6 has the same uniform. 7 and 8 has the same uniform. 9 and 10 has the same uniform. So it depends on like what level. If you change levels in the middle of a season, now you have to buy 2 uniforms that year, which I did a couple times. So it's like a little, who knows? Who knows how much it's costing each year for those uniforms? Oh, plus the warm-ups. I didn't even think about the warm-ups. So then you have your warm-up pants, your warm-up jacket, and it has your name embroidered on it and like sunrise embroidered on it. And that costs another one on top of it. And every year we would change those out. So wow, on uniforms, it was like, it's not bad, like $300-400 a year. It's not bad. But yeah, it's really expensive when your parents have 4 kids. They're spending putting all of the family's extra money into you. My siblings are very jealous because, you know, my parents don't have extra money to put into their extracurriculars. So they're mad at me. My parents are upset with me for giving up because, you know, I was supposed to go to the Olympics and make all this money back and, you know, help out the family. And my coaches are mad at me because I'm being a big baby, because I think I'm broken, but I'm actually fine. And all of this time, my hips muscles are like raging. They're burning, they're grinding together, they're making weird clicking noises. I'm trying to walk and like my knees are like all jelly. Yeah, trying to get back into any kind of movement, and I'm just like, nothing works. I can barely walk. Everybody's mad at me. Everybody thinks I'm a baby. Everybody thinks I'm a failure. Everybody thinks I'm broken. I'm a disappointment. I let everyone down, and all of this is being internalized.
So your family put pressure on you as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you hold any resentment towards them because of that?
A little bit, but mostly towards myself, because I can understand where they're coming from. But also I resented them for not caring about me and my issues. You know, I was having a hard time too. Like, I didn't want to quit. I tried to explain to everyone that, you know, I had a really bad fall on beam and something's wrong with my hips. And everybody's like, no, you're fine, you're fine.
Did anybody understand you? Was there anyone?
No. It was a pretty tough time I'm going through.
Feel?
I feel like...
Were you suicidal?
I was definitely suicidal. During this time. It got to a really dark place. I journaled a lot. Even going back and reading these journal entries, they're so dark. They're so dark.
You still have them?
I do still have them. I do still have a couple of them. It was I didn't know who I was. Everyone's against me, my family, my other family, people at school. I've never interacted with them. I have no friends. You know, I literally lost everything in 1 month, and my physical health, mental, emotional, physical, friends, family, gymnastics family, all of these attention that I was getting from like the magazines and newspapers. I was supposed to go to state and get scouted and go to training camp. My dad's been looking at like different camps for me, different homeschool. He's even like got teachers interviewing to be my homeschool teacher, and I let everyone down. So I'm like in this really dark place. I'm very depressed. I definitely think that I'm not a person anymore.
Did you get close?
I did get a little close, like 8th grade, because this is like the 8th grade, between 8th and 9th grade, that is already a really hard time for, I think, all women. Going through puberty, I started self-harming, cutting my wrists, cutting my legs. It felt good to feel something, because at this point I'm so depressed that there's nothing. There's no emotion. I'm just in this dark place. I'm already dead. I might as well just end it, you know? And I would cut to feel anything, cut to feel something. And then one day, I just felt like nobody cared. You know, because in my experience, nobody cared. Nobody was listening to me. I'm broken on the inside and the outside. Nobody sees this. Nobody understands this. Nobody wants to understand it. Nobody wants to listen to me.
When you were cutting yourself, did a part of you want other people to notice, and so you would get some love?
No.
Or not?
I don't know. I'm a strange cat. I tend to like not really feel like I didn't want any more attention. I just wanted to feel something. So I started wearing a lot of big baggy jackets and bracelets. I didn't want anyone else to notice, because they started noticing my jackets. But I've always been a person that's very cold, and I don't like even now I have my jacket. I always have something to keep me warm. I always like to have something that I can. Well, maybe it's emotional too. Never thought about that. It's just a little, yes. And that's what I'm saying. I didn't really want attention. I didn't want to be big. I didn't want to stand out, because every time I do, everybody is mad at me. Everybody hates me. Nobody understands me, because then they're going to force me to talk and say something. And then I'm going to get backlash for anything I say, anything I do, because I feel like I'm broken. I feel like I am the problem of the world. You know, I am Kali the Destroyer, Shiva the Destroyer. Anything I say or do.
Is there an answer to this, or did you just resign to the fact that you felt that you were not good enough?
I just resigned to the fact that I am the problem. I'm not good enough. I'm good, obviously. I made it to level 9. Everybody's watching me, but I'm not good enough. Being good is not enough. You must be great. And I'm not great. I'm only good. Therefore, I'm not good enough for anyone. you know. They want excellence, and I can't give that to them. I am the problem. So I should just leave this world. Like, why am I here? Like, what's the point? I'm no longer a gymnast. I'm not going to make it to the Olympics. I have all these gymnastics magazines, and then like the Olympics was coming on that year. That would have been my Olympic trials year. So, because literally I was training for the trials. The trials were on TV, the magazines were everywhere, everyone's talking about gymnastics, and all my friends don't realize that I quit. Well, not friends, but acquaintances at school don't realize that I quit. So they were like, oh my God, the Olympic trials are on. Aren't you supposed to be in there, Jazzy? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not in there. For so many reasons, because I'm the problem, I'm broken, I'm a terrible person. I could have been, and I'm not, because I'm not good enough.
Did you ever think of going back to gymnastics as a coach or a commentator, I don't know, expert?
I did. I actually tried to go back to gymnastics a few years later, 2 years. I was a sophomore in college, in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, so 2 to 3 years later, I went to Folgers, which is another gymnastics gym within my city. It's still open. They're much nicer. So 17, yeah. My body had finished with puberty, because now I'm thinking, oh, maybe all that pain was just because of puberty, and maybe I can go back. And my parents still haven't given up. Really? So like, still during all this time, I'm very depressed, and I'm like, any mention of gymnastics like sends me to tears. Like, I like hide in the closet and journal all the time. I'm like cutting my wrists and wearing this big jacket all the time.
Was there anything positive at the time? Like something, I don't know, maybe you like to read, maybe something else, a hobby?
I like to read, but my with me, I would literally hide in the closet and write poems and journal, and I would read books. I started getting into Harry Potter, because, you know, Harry Potter is like at the center of the abused teen who has these magical powers that nobody else realizes. Because I've always felt like I was so talented and gifted, but like just not gifted enough, you know? So Harry Potter was kind of the manifestation of, you know, he is being bullied by all these people and being thrown in the basement, thrown in the closet, but really he's a magical, amazing being who's like the best in the world. You know, it's a really comforting story. But my parents found the books. I'm not allowed to read anything supernatural. My dad was a preacher. My mom sang in the choir. They were very hellfire and brimstone preachers.
Are you religious?
Not anymore. I am spiritual, but not religious. I've made that conscious choice, and huge weight. So for me, there's no doubt that is not my path. I think it's a great path for anyone, but for me, it just caused me a lot of darkness. I was definitely suicidal, and definitely like on the way cutting my wrists. I think I took 8th grade, I took a lot of pills and like ended up passing out and throwing up in the middle of the floor.
What kind of pills?
Some sleeping pills, some ibuprofen, like Excedrin, sleeping pills. I don't know, like what is the one with the butterfly? Ambien. Some Ambien. I found some Ambien in my mom's room. I took some Excedrin. I took some ibuprofen. I just took a cocktail of like a lot of randomness in the closet.
Was that a suicide attempt or?
Yes, I was hoping I wouldn't wake up, you know, but also I'm a very intelligent person. I read a lot. So I was like, I probably will, but at least this might get me out of like a week or something. Like maybe it'll get me some help, you know? So I think it was more of a cry for help than it was like a true suicide attempt, even though I was journaling about all of the ways that I wanted to kill myself very often. I think the biggest one is jump off something high and do all of the crazy flips that I imagine in my head, being able to do them. Because now I don't have to have the hip power. I can just like fly off of a building and do all of my awesome. Parkour is still something I want to try. But no, I did not do that. But like that type of building, like, you know, you're not going to survive that fall. My intention wasn't to survive the fall. My intention was to get all of that out of my system and then die at peace. Definitely was the goal. So if I was to commit suicide for real, I would have gone to any tall building and jumped.
What would you advise for people who athletes, or in general, everybody who feels suicidal like you, right? It seems like there's no way out.
Yeah, man, I'm thankful for my resilience. I think that's one thing that sports definitely does teach you in the face of adversity is you keep going. No matter what, this is part of your training. Use it. You keep going. You have all these negative emotions. You have all these negative feelings. Everything is hopeless. You're broken. You have nowhere to go. You have no one to turn to, but you do have yourself. You know, and for me, a big outlet was journaling, writing it down, getting it out of my head. So I'm spiraling here, but if I put it on paper and then I'm able to have another place for it, that was definitely helpful. I've put in so much work to get past there. You know, I'm no longer that person, even though that person is definitely a part of me. It's what allowed me to get here. It's what created my resilience amidst adversity, you know. Even when stuff completely is burning on fire now, I'm like, it's okay. It'll improve.
You're literally a different person, physically too.
Yes.
I mean, every molecule of you now is a new molecule to what you were back then.
Exactly.
Every 8 years will completely regenerate.
Yes, very true, which is beautiful. But within that 8 years, eventually, I still haven't had surgery at this point. So I'm in high school, I go back to gymnastics, and of course, I can do surprisingly, I could do a lot of things that I used to.
You went to a new school?
I went to a new school. It's called Folger's Gymnastics with Mark Folger, and he's amazing. He's a true coach who actually cares about his gymnasts. So I could do like my level 7 skills. All of my level 7 skills I could do, surprisingly, after 2 years of no gymnastics and an injury.
From 9 to 7, right? And here you are at 7 now.
And here I am at 7 now.
2 years later.
2 years later. Yeah, with an injury. So my hips are still broken. There's still like fractures and bones in there, and it's doing like weird stuff.
But did it heal incorrectly or yeah?
Definitely, it healed incorrectly, and there was still like a couple bone shards that were. I learned this later, not at this point. I didn't know. I'm 17. I'm trying to do my best, and then I started like having headaches and throwing up, and like my legs were doing like weird things. They would like have shooting pains and go numb at some point. And I was like, maybe. And at this point, I've put in a lot of emotional work and kind of started to try and put myself first, even though I'm still depressed. I'm still trying to work through it. My parents saw that I was depressed and thought gymnastics would bring me back to myself, bring me back to my happy-go-lucky self.
What did Mark say about this?
Mark was very understanding. He was like, it seems like you're having a really tough time. I've noticed that you're like limping a little bit and favoring one side. Is there something wrong? And I was like, I don't know, maybe something's wrong. He's like, well, you should go get it checked out. You know, you should go get it checked out. So finally, 2 years later, after I fractured my hips on an injury, I finally go to the doctor with my parents. We go to a hip specialist, and she's like, oh yeah, there's a growth plate injury on the top of your femur. It just needs time and rest, and it'll be fine. So she doesn't suggest surgery. She just thinks that I'm growing and going through puberty, and that's why the bones look a little weird and whatever else. So she notices a couple things, but she just says like rest and you'll recover. So then I just go back to gymnastics, and I'm like, the load that I need to go past level 7, I don't think I can handle it. And Mark's like, if you don't think you're ready, then you're not ready, and that's okay. We can just call it. So then I decided to do cheerleading instead. It's much less intensive. Sorry, cheerleaders. But it's much easier than gymnastics. I don't care what anyone says. It's way easier. You have to do much less things. But even in cheerleading, I'm like, I'm doing better than all the cheerleaders because I'm a freaking ex-gymnast where we do, they're only allowed to do a double twisting full. We do quads, 4 twists in the air before we land. So I'm like, oh.
Why are you not allowed as a cheerleader to do the
because cheerleading coaches suck.
Tell us more about that.
It's not true for all of them. Like here at Top Gun, I will say their coaches are amazing. But most cheer tumbling, you're terrified for them. You're like, oh, you're gonna die. Like their fools are like this close to the ground and like their body is like all kind of crunched up. Where in gymnastics, it's like ballet. The coaching is like ballet. So every detail, like you'll sit for an hour and be like, point, back in, set, relax, set, relax. So by the time you are actually doing the skill, it's perfected. And then you're gonna go to the pit, and then you're gonna come to the floor. And then if that's not working, go to the trampoline, come back to the floor. They're very meticulous in how they train your skills. Where cheerleading, they're just like, oh, this is how it goes. Try it out, see if it works. And people just like crank it, like just go for it. So there's a lot more injuries in cheerleading than there is in gymnastics. So like there were so many injuries that they just like, okay, this skill just, you can't do it anymore because people are dying.
And you were a cheerleader for a football team, or?
I did cheerleading for my school because my parents were like, something's wrong with you and you're not communicating with everyone. If you want to cheer, to do all-star cheerleading, which is what I ended up, which was my goal, because then you're still competing. So then my competition is back. I miss competing, you know, and flipping. School cheer is like social. You're like, go team, go. Oh, we're on defense. Oh, we're on offense. I hated it, but I loved All-Star. So I did school cheerleading because my parents wanted me to integrate into the social scene. I don't know if that was helpful or not helpful. It did bring me out of my shell a bit because I no longer could just hide in my closet all day when I got home from school. Now I have practice and I have to interact with these cheerleaders. I hated them. I thought they were very catty. They were very mean. They weren't very nice friends, let's be honest. But they were friends.
What kind of person wants to be a cheerleader normally?
Normally, the people who want to be a cheerleader, they want attention from everyone. Once again, not something I wanted. I wanted to hide. They want to be popular. They want to be seen. They want to be seen as pretty. They want to get all of the boys. And they're very like catty. Like, you know, those girls who, like the TV shows, you know, they haze each other. They're mean to each other. They'll do anything and everything to be the top one. And like, who cares about you? It's supposed to be me at the center of the pyramid. Like, yeah, they just really are about themselves. Narcissistic women, I'll put it that way. Definite narcissists, at least school cheer. All-Star is a little different because there's a lot of people like me who are ex-gymnasts who like, I just miss tumbling. I just miss using my body and to do cool things. Like, that's what I miss. So All-Star was a much better fit than school cheer. School cheer, I had terrible friends. Like, she accused me of stealing something that she just hid from everyone so that everybody would hate me. She would like call me and like put me on speakerphone or like merge it into a different person. Like, oh, what guy do you like? Or what person are you into? And like try to like embarrass me with like whoever I was talking about, like would call them and get them on the phone. I was just like, oh.
It was in Kansas?
In Kansas, yeah.
Was there any racism?
Oh, plenty. Oh, plenty.
Was it predominantly white cheerleading team?
Yes, definitely. Predominantly white. There was like 3 of us black girls, and those were the black girls. They were mean to me. So they would pretend like they were being nice, like, come over, we'll make posters, it'll be great. But really they invited me over to make fun of me or like use me for some prank or joke. And yeah, you know, typical, you see it on TV, cheerleading stuff definitely happened at the same time as I'm depressed and I'm broken, trying to get through all these things. But really they're jealous because I'm much better than they are. I'm a naturally talented, amazing cheerleader. I'm really great at motions because presentation has always been a thing in gymnastics. I'm really great at tumbling. They can barely do a cartwheel. Like, they were just jealous. It was jealousy. I mean, female competition in a toxic environment. So putting me back in cheerleading, putting me back in gymnastics was actually counterproductive. So I go back into my deep, dark depression and I'm spiraling again. Now I'm out of the house, but now it's like the anxiety of people knowing. Like before I could just hide and it was fine. And now there's the anxiety of like, I'm around so many people. So now I'm starting to like tape my wrists. like, oh, I just sprained my wrist, you know, because I have like all these deep gashes on my arms that I can't let anybody else see, you know, or on my legs. You wear these like little skirts and things. So I'm like, you know, having to put makeup on, you know, and then we're stunting and I'm a babe. So I have to catch these people. So that's why I started taping instead of using makeup, because they're like, oh my God, there's like brown all over my shirt. What's going on? And I was like, oh no, that's my makeup. I can't admit to it. So I just started taping it. And like, I always had a sprained wrist. So there was that anxiety. And then on top of that, my boobs developed very early and I was much more buxom than most women. So my cheerleading outfit wouldn't fit unless I like taped ace bandage down my boobs, or it would make me look fat because it would like be on here and then like go down and my stomach's really in and my boobs are way out here. So I got teased a lot for like looking fat. So then I started taping them down so that I could actually have my cheerleading top fit on the bottom. So I no longer look fat. I'm not fat. I've never been fat in my life. Just cheerleaders are mean. They're just mean. Yeah. So thankfully I'm a little resilient. I didn't have any body dysmorphia issues, but I didn't like being teased for something that wasn't true as well. So I'm having issues with like, you know, my boobs are like in the way. They're really annoying and these girls are really mean. Meanwhile, in all-star cheerleading, I'm doing great. I'm like in the front doing all the flips in the front. But emotionally, I'm a hot mess. I'm still depressed. I'm very suicidal. I don't even think I'm going to make it through high school. I think I even wrote in my journal that by 21, I'll be dead. There's no way that I'm going to live past the time I'm 21. Like, it's impossible. Like, I can't live like this for much longer. Was basically the tenor, the tone of my journal at that point in time. So then I go to college and I just quit sport. I go to college and I get a cheerleading scholarship to University of Memphis. I go to University of Memphis. We get second place at Worlds. So I'm like super elated. That was one of my goals. I wanted to win something. You know, like I had all this build up to state. I never made it to state. And then I had all this build up to going back to gymnastics, you know, and she's going to go back and make it to the Olympics again. And I stopped, you know, let everyone down again. Then I'm in cheerleading. So now in cheerleading, I have to do something. Like I have to win. So I went to Memphis and we got second at nationals. I'll take it. I'll freaking take it. So after that, I was done. I was completely done with sports. I was completely done with gymnastics, with cheerleading. I literally quit everything. So for the next like 3-4 years, I'm in college. I'm doing no sports. My hips still hurt. Walking is a disaster. I have this like little limp, but I just kind of made it. I'm a dancer as well, you know, so I just kind of made it a dance. It's a vibe how I walk. Like, oh, you walk interesting. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I know. Don't wear my shoes. My shoes are being worn in weird ways, you know, on the sides and just, yeah, because I'm compensating. And hiding it, because once again, like I've been told for years and years that nothing's wrong with me. I'm imagining things. I'm broken. I'm being a baby. I'm creating problems. So I've just been ignoring it. So I go to Puerto Rico, study abroad, have an amazing time. Then I graduate college. I'm still doing no sports, which is so strange because since I was 6 years old, I've been training every single day for hours. And now I'm like being a normal person, I guess. It was weird. It was weird. Literally no movement at all because walking is difficulty. I'd sit on the couch. Sometimes I'd stretch and try to like get out whatever was there. Like something's there, something's wrong, but it's just all in my head. So maybe I just need to stretch it out. And then I go to Spain. And when I'm in Spain, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of healing. I hadn't talked to my family since I left for college. Probably should go back there. So after I left for college, until later in Spain. Yeah, so 6 years. 6 years I stopped talking to them because, I mean, there's no positivity coming.
All of them?
All of them.
Do you
All.
now?
Now we do. We reconnected when I went to Spain. So after I got the cheer scholarship to Memphis, I was like, Adios, guys. I'm going to go win despite you. You guys hate me, think I'm terrible, think I'm broken. You have nothing but negative things to say about me. My sister is telling me like I stole all the family's money and blah, blah, blah. My older sister is dealing with her own stuff, just ignores me because she's dealing with her own stuff. My little brother is just doing whatever he's doing, but he's my little brother, you know, he's not someone you go to with your problems. He's someone you protect from the problems.
How did you make a living during that time, since you disconnected from your family?
I was a waitress when I lived in Memphis. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I worked at P.F. Chang's. I did that, yeah, basically. And then in Puerto Rico, I had saved a little bit of money, and I had scholarship money and loan money from school, so I lived on that. And then when I moved to Spain, I was teaching English as a second language.
For how long you were in Spain?
I was in Spain for 3 years. So,
where in Spain?
Madrid. I loved it, absolutely loved it. Amazing, amazing time. Teaching English is actually very nice. Everyone wants to learn English in Spain. It's a way for them to, you know, have work. You know, if you don't speak English, it's hard to find a nice paying job in the world, apparently. So I'm blessed and thankful that I speak one of the biggest languages that people need in the world, and that's a skill that I already have. And I use that to travel. So I really enjoyed Madrid. I met some amazing people, Maite and Jaime, who encouraged me to reconnect with my family. They're like, you have one family. Like, you're not going to get another one. No matter what happened in the past, no matter what difficulties you face, it's important to reconnect with them. It's so important to reconnect with them. But when I went to Spain and I connected with Maite's family, and her family is very close. The relationships in Spain, like, the families are so beautiful. They have multi-generations in one home, or they all live in the same building. They visit each other. They eat dinner together, eat lunch together. They call each other on the phone constantly. Like, they're best friends. And I've never experienced families like this. I was like, wait, this is what family's supposed to be like? You talk on purpose? You love each other and you tell each other? You give each other hugs? Like, I kind of had this thing where I didn't really like to be touched. Like, in Spain, like, you don't have a choice. Like, 2 kisses is how they say hello. And like, hello, hola, hola. And I'm like, oh.
Is that where you learned Spanish?
That is where I learned Spanish, for sure. She was my translator for a long time, my best friend Maite. But after a while, my Spanish got better and better, which was good. So then I could communicate like, no estoy muy enojada, no estoy mala, I'm not mean, I'm not bad, I just don't like a lot of touching. But I didn't really have a choice. So I think that for me was very healing, to be forced to let people in, be forced to communicate with others. Like, you can't just hide in your room. Like, Maite was like, no, we're going out, we're gonna go have fun, let's go. I'm like, but I don't really want to. Okay, here's your outfit, let's go. So she was a very healing relationship for me. She also encouraged me to get back in contact with my parents. So I started writing them letters and all of these things. Also, she rollerbladed, so we started like doing inline skating. So movement is being slowly brought back in my life. I have my dog Shane, and we're like going to the park together and taking walks. So it's slowly but surely I'm getting back into movement. So I started writing my parents letters, started writing my sisters and brothers letters, and basically telling them, I love you. I disconnected because I was having like a lot of emotional problems and a lot of physical problems. I felt like I had no support. Just being very open and honest with them. Handwritten letters. Just me being very open and honest and specific to each person, because I had different issues with each one. I mean, my little brother, we never had issues. It was just I wanted to protect him from my pain. I had so much pain, and I felt like, and my energy has always been very big. I feel like my energy affects other people in a profound way, whether I want it to or not. So like when I have a lot of pain and anger and fear, and I see that like going towards someone that I have so much love for, I felt like I had to isolate myself from him specifically. So it was never anything that he did. In that house, there was just so much pain, so much anger, so much darkness, that that gymnastics was my escape. And then gymnastics became the pain and darkness and anger and fear. So then they collided and I just couldn't cope. So I had to go. I had to disconnect from everything in my past life in order for me to heal. And yeah, Spain was that.
So now you come back from Spain. Which year is it?
I don't come back to Spain from, actually I do. I come back from Spain in May of 2015. 2015, because I'm having hip problems. I'm having huge problems with walking. I'm now watching my feet to walk. Like I literally have to look at my feet because I don't feel them. My whole legs are numb. The only feeling I get is like random shooting pains. Actually, before I come back to America, I started doing Bikram Yoga because my friend Maite was really getting me back into movement. She's like, well, why don't you try yoga? Like you're having a hard time doing anything. Like I think yoga would be good for you.
So you started in Spain?
I started in Spain. Spain, I don't know what it is about that place, but thank the universe. Infinite healing. So I connected with Maite. I got back into like rollerblading. I started doing yoga, which was a beautiful practice. Because remember, my mindset is very like, sacrifice your body and everything you are for this win, for this sport. Where yoga's like, no. Be gentle, be compassionate, be intuitive. Whatever your body needs, go there. When you need to stop, please do. And looking around in class, I realized that some people would literally drop out and just be in child's pose, or they'd be sitting there in like meditative posture while they're in like these really crazy moves. And it was okay not to go there. You know, that was very healing to see like, hey, they're doing something really hard and I don't think I can do that right now because my hips, I can do it, like, but I'd be pushing myself and hurting myself. And to realize and understand that that's okay to stop. It's okay to stop and pause and be calm and listen to your body when it says no. Your body's allowed to say no. That was very healing. And then by this time I've like been writing letters and I actually got a response back from my parents. And I go home in May because one of my friends is getting married. One of my old high school friends is getting married, invited me to the wedding, wanted me to come. So I go back to the wedding and I'm like, okay, I'll go to the doctor here one more time. Because now I'm doing yoga, I'm being very intuitive with my body, I'm being very gentle and compassionate with my body. I'm like, I'm not crazy. There's something wrong with me. I don't care what my family has said. I don't care what these coaches have said. I'm now an adult. I'm now like 25 years old. This happened when I was like 14. I was like, something's wrong. I'm re-injuring myself. I'm hurting myself by not getting this looked at. So I went back to a specialist and he was like, he looked at my bones. He was like, oh my God, do you have rheumatoid arthritis? And I was like, no, because apparently all my cartilage was deteriorating. My socket was no longer closed. Like, you know how you have ball and socket in your hip? It was no longer closed. Like all of this had been chipped away. So it was just like this and my hip was just going freely in there. So my muscles were working so hard because they were walking for me. I no longer had the stability in my hips. And my right side, which hit the beam first, was definitely worse than my left side. My left side still had like a shard in my cartilage of my bone. And he's like, I don't know how this wasn't caught earlier. He's like, you need surgery immediately. Like your body can't take this for much longer. And then now you're trying to get back into movement. You'll never be at 100% ever. Like there's no way that you're going to be back at your Olympic level gymnastics. And you've been destroying your hips for the past 5 years by just walking on it. I don't understand why you haven't come to the doctor. Aren't you in pain? And I was like, yeah, I just decided it was a normal part of my life. Physical, emotional, mental pain is how you live life, you know? Nobody is pain-free, which is a lie. Now I know it's a lie. But back then, I was living in this state of pain and I felt like I deserved it. Definitely felt like I deserved it because I had broken the contract. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I didn't follow through my word. I didn't go to the Olympics and I let everyone down, especially myself. So I deserved all of this pain. Thankfully, my mom was there with me. Out of everyone, she's tries to be the most supportive, and was like, oh wow, what, doctor, something is wrong with her hips? Yeah, something's wrong with my hips. I've been saying it for freaking years. Something's wrong with my hips.
So it's been 10 years?
It's been like, wow, yeah, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years.
Did you get the surgery?
I did get the surgery. So I still was living in Spain. I had just come back to visit. I wasn't planning on moving back to the States. So I'm like having this huge breakdown. I put in all this work in Spain. I've like come like leaps and bounds emotionally and physically, and yoga is amazing. So I'm terrified. So I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit better in all of the other ways. And now I have to come back into this dark environment. Because I could have got surgery in Spain, but I'm not going to be able to walk for a year. How am I going to work? So my mom says that you can come stay at home and live with us. It'll be great. We'll take care of you after surgery. So I decide to come back to the US. I go back to Spain and I like pack up all my stuff super quickly. And I'm like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go through this. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Because in my mind, I just put in all this work. I've started doing meditation. I've started doing yoga. I've started working on like my mental health. I've started working on my physical health. And now I'm going to go back into this deep, dark place that caused it. You know, I've had all this trauma, and this place is what caused it. I've gotten away from it for the past 6 years, and I've had so much healing, and I don't want to go backwards. So I'm terrified to go back. I'm starting to have panic attacks. Well, my last month in Spain, and Maite's like, calm down, it'll be fine, don't worry. I go back. I get the surgery. My doctor is actually really awesome. I'm thankful for my doctor. We went through like 2 or 3, and the main one, Dr. Pence, he was the one who invented this reconstructive surgery, because instead of getting my hips replaced, he's like, oh, we can reconstruct it. I'll just like break it, do some like stuff here, and then like we'll put some screws and you'll be good to go. And I was like, can I go back to like 100%? Like, yo, I was like Olympic training gymnast. Can I get back there? And he's like, yes. Out of all the doctors, everyone else was like 70%, 75%, maybe 60%. He was like, oh, we'll get you there. And I was like, okay, I feel confident. He came in, Dave's surgery, in a little motorcycle jacket. He's like, yeah, I rode my bike over here. We're ready to go. Let's get started. And I was like, oh, okay. This guy is pretty cool. You know, I wake up from surgery. I'm speaking Spanish because in my mind, I'm still in Spain. That's become my new home, mentally and emotionally. And like, my parents don't know what I'm saying. They don't speak Spanish. And like, there's a family next door who does speak Spanish, and they're like translating. Mom's like, you're not in Spain, speak English. I'm like, look, ¿qué? ¿De qué hablas? Mami, estoy aquí en España. ¿Dónde está Maite? ¿Dónde está? ¿Quién eres? Like, who are you? Where's Maite? Maite's like my home now. So I'm expecting to see her, and I see my parents, and like there's this Mexican family over there, like, castellano, habla castellano de España. And I'm like, yeah, soy de España. I'm delirious, you know, you're on drugs. So that was my drug story. I definitely thought I was in Spain. I definitely was asking for all of my Spanish friends and did not want to talk to my family. But eventually I think I realized, oh, you're in Kansas again. Like Dorothy. I am in Kansas again. So I'm like laying in this bed in the family room. Everybody has to help me use the restroom. Everybody has to help me like sit up. Everybody has to help me like, he has to get me the food, and I have like have these pillows behind my back. My legs, they don't work. From here down, there's nothing works. I feel nothing. I'm going through physical therapy, and they keep trying to move my legs, and like it's excruciating. So like I can't move my legs, but they are, and it hurts really bad, and I don't like these people, and they're being so mean. They don't understand anything anyways. So it was crazy time. And I didn't have to do this once. I had to do this twice. Both hips. Absolutely excruciating. Silver lining during this time, I really enjoyed physical therapy. I learned a lot about the body and how to rehab the body during this time. I decided to go back to school for physical therapy in my mind while I'm doing all this therapy and rehab. But Also, there was a lot of great family healing during this time as they're helping me through all of this physical therapy. They're helping me deal with all of the anger and stress as well. I definitely was able to heal my relationship with both my parents, my brother, my sisters, and it was a really beautiful time because whether I liked it or not and felt like I was going to be a hostage, it actually turned into a beautiful experience. My parents had done a lot of work and counseling as well, and I had been through a lot of counseling. And when we came together after sending those letters from Spain and coming back to the US and Kansas, it was much better than I thought it was going to be. It not only was better, it was healing. So I'm very grateful and thankful for this time, even though it was a very difficult and dark time. There was lots of silver linings and positives that occurred in my life as well. I started taking walks with my dog. I have a dog named Shane. He's been my partner in crime through like so many things. I got him when I was 17. No, I got him when I was 21 for my 21st birthday from a friend. So he's been my heart and soul. I started taking him on walks around the city, and I passed by a yoga studio in Kansas once I could walk. So I was very surprised in the middle of Kansas, which is the Bible Belt, to find a yoga studio 2 blocks from my house. I don't know if that was the universe or what. So I started going to yoga every day. It was my escape from the house. Yeah. And it's like 2 blocks away. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name of the studio. I remember what the building looks like and everything.
Is it still there?
It is still there, but they moved. So they moved a little bit farther from my house.
But you were already exposed to yoga before, right? In Spain.
In Spain. Good, yeah.
So you liked it before, and now you saw the studio.
And now I've seen the studio, definitely. But before I was limited in how much yoga I could do because of my hip issues. And now, as I'm going back to yoga, I'm even more limited because I'm just now relearning my hips. I literally had to relearn how to walk. Imagine you tell your leg to move and it says, no, thank you. And you're just staring at it like, move. Nothing's happening. Craziest feeling in the world, especially as a gymnast and cheerleader and mover and all of these athletic stars. Crazy. So debilitating mentally to not be able to even move your foot. So I'm walking better now, but I'm going to yoga and like child's pose, like my butt is like this high off the ground, like I can barely even like sit in the squat position. Like this is probably as low as I can get. I can't touch my toes. I've always been able to touch my toes, and like my hands are like at my knees, and like, wow, that's difficult. So I think it really put a lot of perspective on beginners. You know, I've always been at like this altered high level, and now it's brought me back to square one, like less than square one for me. I've always been naturally talented. It stripped away all of the natural talent, stripped away all of the ego, stripped away all of these things that we have as individuals so that you can really see this is where people start from. You know, like me as a gymnast starting from level 9, I'm like, yoga, whatever. Oh, we're touching our toes, or we're doing some kind of weird twisty. Oh, awesome. We put our leg behind our head. That's fine too. Cheerleading. Got it. But now after surgery, I can barely, like, this is my toe touch. Like, this is it. You know, I'm doing my standing straddle and I'm like, whoa, that's it. You know, and you're really limited and you have to work through all of these things slowly, gently, being aware of your body, listening to your body, not pushing your body past where it can go because you have screws in your hips. You have like scar tissue in your hips. You have to do some self-massage. You have to take it nice and slow because you're rehabilitating, you're relearning your body. You know, also my hips are different. They're much more stable. So before I could do like weird, funky things to compensate because this doesn't exist. So I can turn my hip like this and that's fine. But now I need to learn to keep it here and use my joints the way they're supposed to be used, you know? Motion is lotion, and I'm loving yoga. I'm going every day, and like the instructors are like, you're improving like really quickly. Because when you first came in, you couldn't touch your toes, and now like your head's on your knees. I was like, oh, I'm an ex-gymnast. This is my normal. The beginning was me recovering from surgery. They're like, wait, you just had surgery? You didn't tell us you just had surgery. It's like, I was gentle, I was careful. And that's when they encouraged me to get my yoga teaching certification. So from there, I got certified in 200-hour yoga because I was like, physical therapy got me here, like literally I can walk, but yoga brought me back to myself. Yoga brought me back to my peak level of passion for movement. I love moving. I love feeling my body move, love challenging my body to do new things, new forms. But now I have this new perspective that I can do it in a way that is healing. I can do it in a way that's gentle. I can do it in a way that is growing my understanding and love for my body instead of me fighting against my body. I'm working with, loving, and healing my body through movement. And for me, that was revolutionary.
When did you start teaching?
I started teaching probably a year later.
Is that before you moved to Miami Beach?
That is before I moved to Miami Beach. So I did do a little bit of teaching in Kansas because I just wanted to share it with everyone. I was like, guys, you don't understand. I started with my family for sure. My dad was having some issues. I was like, Dad, you're having issues? Let me show you. Like, I was so amped and excited. It was almost felt like 1996 again. I hadn't felt like that since I was 6 years old and I saw gymnastics. It was like, oh, gymnastics is God. But now I'm like, I am God. My body is God. My mind, my spirit, my soul, everything is God. Everything is connected. And to go from that place, it was such a healing place to go to that I just wanted to share it with the world. I was really excited. So I definitely did that. And then also at the studio that I got my certification from, I started teaching there 1 class a week. We did a candlelight yin yoga class at night that I really enjoyed teaching. It was nice and slow, so it wasn't me pushing myself to do like too much craziness, and I could still stay in my healing frame of mind and be gentle and calm with my body, because it still had a lot of scar tissue and things that I had to work through. I wasn't doing backflips again yet. Yeah, and then I'm going back to school at Kansas State for a year. And then I finished my bachelor's of science, and I applied here to University of Miami. I've always wanted to live here since I was in high school. It's been like, Miami, I love the sun. I get sad. Seasonal affective disorder, and I get sad. So I always thought Miami would be literally the perfect place. I mean, sun, water. I'm from Kansas, it's landlocked. There's no water. Puerto Rico, I loved having the water, the beach nearby. We camped on the beach like every other weekend. We were at the beach camping out. So Miami was the perfect spot for me. Yeah.
When did you move to Miami?
Yay, go COVID! So I applied to Miami in 2019 and I got in. I was so excited. I was gonna come here to physical therapy school. So I moved here February 2020 and I went to a yoga retreat in Miramar. Yogi Hari, Sampurna Yoga, yoga retreat, and then got another certification here in Florida. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come down here, I'm gonna be a yoga teacher, and I'm gonna be a physical therapist, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. It's all gonna work out so nicely. As soon as I get here, COVID.
You going in March?
Got here in March, literally in March. So I got here in February, but I did the whole retreat thing in like the middle of nowhere. So it's, you weren't really in the city experiencing it. And then in March, I came down here and I moved to Coconut Grove because I'm going to go to University of Miami as the plan. COVID happens. Everything is shut down. Everything's shut down. And I've been on this healing journey. I've been on this spiritual path, and you're starting to see the cracks in Western medicine. One of my family doctors, that's been my family doctor since I was like 5, and like, how many bones have you broken now? He retired from, and Western medicine, the way that it was being structured, he couldn't help his patients any longer. in order to give them the procedures that they needed all kinds of referrals. It was like costing all this money. Most of the things they needed were outside of insurance coverage and like out of their reach. And he was just getting frustrated because like, I want to help my patients. I care about my patients. And the societal system of Western medicine is not allowing me to, or it's forcing me to take advantage of them financially, emotionally, like, you know, it's telling me to give them this, but I know this won't help. This will only hurt. I know this is the answer, but insurance won't cover this because they know it'll cure them and they can't keep them in this chronic state of perpetual medicine, perpetual pills, you know? So he had left and then COVID happened. So I have that one in my ear, and then COVID happened and the Western medicine system basically did not do a good job. I mean, everything was blowing up. They were saying people had COVID that didn't have COVID. People were dying. The masks are pointless. Like, come on. Like, if it can go through your skin, a piece of fabric is going to stop it? No. There's no way. There's a 0% chance that's helpful at all. It's just mental. It's helping all the mental people out. Whether or not it was a conspiracy, who knows? But definitely the pharmaceutical companies have buried things. And I just got very disillusioned with Western medicine. I think COVID did that for a lot of people. For me especially. And I was like, I'm going to go spend 60 grand a year to get a degree to make 60 grand a year, and then have all these rules, regulations, and like blocks from me actually helping people heal. No. So during COVID, I decided that I'm not going to go to the University of Miami for physical therapy. But now what? So I started working on yachts and things. But my true passion has always been helping people move. True passion has always been healing people, helping people, coaching people. I loved it. I've always loved it. Even in gymnastics, I couldn't help it. Jazzy, get back to work. Stop helping her with her back handspring. But I know how to help her. Let me help her. So that's always been my passion. And after a year of working in the yachting industry, the boat industry, because also the water is love. I didn't have it growing up, so it's something that I love to experience. I decided, like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go back to my love of movement, my passion of movement. Even though I've been here in Miami, exploring, playing at the park, going to South Pointe, so many amazing things here. So many amazing movement opportunities here, which I love. Getting into fire dance. But yoga has always been my true love. The passion for movement. So I'm excited that I finally decided to go ahead and start my class. I found a location to do it at, found my friend Jackie, who got me connected with the Sagamore, and was like, yeah, they definitely need some more healing, love, and movement and health and wellness here. So please come, please join. So I found the location very easily. I'm like, okay, universe, you want this to happen? Put things in line. And it's just been lining up since then. So now I have my class on Monday, which I freaking love and I'm so thankful for. I also do private classes with a couple of people in the mornings and afternoons on various days. And I'm performing. My competition, my performance is back. You know, I'm moving in front of people and entertaining them and sharing my gifts and passions. And it's absolutely amazing. But it's been an insane journey to get back here. I've always known this is my gift, this is my calling, helping people heal through physical movement, spirituality, finding their path, infinite paths, one goal. All things are valid. I just want to help you along on whatever path you choose and use the different modalities that we have at our disposal to get there, you know? So if entertaining you sparks some passion in you to get up and move, get up and experience something new, I love it. If I'm able to bring you into my yoga class and I'm able to help you move and bring you to that point where a lot of people tell me they can't until they do it. I'm like, no, you can. And bringing people to that place where they do something they think they never could do and sparking that, yes, I can, because they just did it. Like a backflip, a front forward roll, the splits, a pancake on the ground. Whatever your goal is, getting you not just there, but past there, I love. My absolute joy.
What's next for you then?
Oh, what's next? Bigger, better stages, bigger, better classes. I definitely want to open up a studio.
In Miami Beach or Miami?
It's undecided because the place that I want to open is for creatives of all kinds. I want to have like the New York collectives. You know, in New York, they have the places where artists live and they work there too. So they have subsidized rent that allows them to work there and grow their craft, grow their skills. Yeah.
You know, Espanol way used to be that.
Yeah? It did? Goals.
It was designed for the artists to live back in the 30s.
Exactly. I want to bring it back. Where did it go? You know, I don't understand why there's so many creatives here in Miami and there's no longer that source for them. I mean, come to South Pointe, go to all the festivals. There's so many talented artists. So I want to have a space where they can live and grow.
Is it in Wynwood at all or no?
No. There's a couple places where there was houses that did that, but they were small. Like I know Ginergy stayed in one of those places where it was like an artist space, but the owner sold it. So it no longer is. So all the places that used to exist are kind of like disappearing.
So what would happen in these houses? What would it be?
What would be the difference is I would have a way for people to actually make money as well. So we'd have like pop-up shops, events. We definitely would have like a meditation garden as well, where we'd have retreats and people could come and meditate daily on the daily. We'd bring in different speakers from all different paths, Hinduism. It would be more like not maybe a bazaar. It wouldn't be always open. It would be always open for the artists who lived there. That would be a perk of living there. We'd have a sliding scale of rent. The rooms?
How many rooms?
Ooh, I'm thinking maybe like 15.
So 15 people or 30 people?
15 to 30. We have people, we're also gonna have a cacao bar. So there's gonna be like juices, elixirs. So if you're living there, you're volunteering your time. You have to help us maintain the space, create the space. You have to have a class that you're giving or some art that you're selling in our shop.
What if you're a loser?
Then you're not allowed to stay there. We're not a charity. We're a collective. There's a difference. You know, money must be made. Money isn't the focus, you know, but money should be something that is circulating through there. Because if you want to be a successful artist, you have to be able to monetize your art. And that would be the goal of the space, is that we're all working together to monetize our crafts, whatever they are.
We're working on NFTs.
Beautiful. Please join. And we're going to have crypto people come into the meditation garden, and we'll have different talks and different things where people pay to come to this event. And we get really good speakers and really good people to present that are knowledgeable in this area, that know how to monetize it. You know, and maybe you network and meet one of these people or speakers who comes through. That is a beautiful investment funding opportunity for you as well. So it's not just living, it's networking as well. I just want it to be something that is reciprocal, where like the artists are sharing with others and others are sharing with the artists, and then participants are coming in from the outside that aren't part of the collective, that are coming to experience what we're building, experience the meditation, experience the yoga, experience maybe an art class, paint and sip class, experience maybe there's a tantra garden on the roof as well. Like whatever classes these artists, these 15 artists, they have to be different specialties because they have to be able to offer things to people who want to come into the space.
So we have one bodybuilder, 3 yogis.
Yeah, lots of yogis.
A couple of musicians.
For sure.
Painters.
Yes.
What else?
Dancers.
Crypto and NFT guys.
Dancers, crypto NFT guys, martial artists, for sure. I also think is very important.
Singers.
Singers. Yeah, I'll take a couple singers. I think
Are you a singer?
I can sing.
Shall we hear you sing?
Lauryn Hill. Strumming my pain with his fingers. Singing my life with his words. Killing me softly with his song. Killing me softly with his words, killing me softly. End of story. That's my karaoke song. That was my karaoke song. I can't sing like my sister, but I can sing a little bit. My sister has perfect pitch. So I'm like, she can sing opera. She can sing like a cappella, tenor, or like barbershop quartet. Amazing, amazing voice. So I'm like, I'm okay. I give myself a solid 7. But yeah, definitely have any creative artists who can come in and monetize and share and network. And you're not meant to stay there forever. You know, you come in, you build, you grow. We bring in all these people, you network, you share, you find your collaborators, you find your whatever, videographers, photographers, also welcome in this space, you know?
What if you don't get along with people?
That's the point. Good, fix it. Okay, we're all here to grow on all levels. Emotional intelligence is important. You don't have to like me to respect me. You don't have to love me to be able to work with me. You know, like infinite respect is all that's needed. The golden rule is all that's needed. Be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and work with them from their perspective. If I was this person, would I want this to happen to me? No. How can I communicate with this person in a way that they understand and I get the benefit of them understanding me as well? So definitely it would be an experiment in human collaboration and emotional intelligence. And definitely I think having like meetings and workshops throughout to bring people together is another part of the collective. We want people to grow, not just physically or not just emotionally, not just spiritually, not just mentally. And we are not an island. We'd love to be, but we're not. I mean, you'd like to be. You can be an island within yourself, but you do have to interact with others, period. It's something that has to happen. We're social creatures. You will interact with others. So growing that ability to do so, also part of the collective. So the collective has lots of little hidden things that will be going on behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, where people are not just growing themselves in their career, they're also growing themselves as individuals and moving along on their path, in whichever path they choose. If they say, hey, I need Vipassana meditation, okay, we can have a Vipassana meditation retreat. Let's market it. Let's get it together. Can you get people in the door? Can you find a great speaker for Vipassana and get a good thing together? Let's do it. You know, where it's infinite collaboration, this reciprocal circle where you get, if you've seen 9 Strangers on Hulu, no, well, basically she like handpicks different people to come in together that will interact in different ways that will help each other.
Is that where you got the idea?
No, but when I saw it, I was like, I love that. I need that. Definitely part of it. As an empath, sometimes you see different people, like these people would go along together. These people would heal each other. These people would clash, but if they figured out how to work together, they would be amazing. Yeah. So I definitely think that would be part of it. You have to apply to live there. Not anyone can live there. You must be creative. You must contribute. Like maybe you do the gardening, maybe you do the dishes, maybe you cook, maybe you work at the cacao bar. Cacao, juices, elixirs, maybe you work there once a week, maybe you're gardening and cleaning up the meditation.
You're a drug dealer.
No. I mean, plant medicine is welcome. Don't get me wrong. Plant medicine is welcome. I do think that we'll have some plant medicine ceremonies on the Tantra rooftop. Tantra rooftop coming soon. But it needs to be done in a responsible, respectful way. It's not just if we see that you're just like giving anyone and everyone drugs and you're not making it a healing modality, then you're not welcome, because that's not the goal. The goal isn't for everybody to get, we're fucked up and we don't know what's going on. No, the goal is to heal. The goal is to confront your demons. I think plant medicine is beautiful for shadow work. It's beautiful for shadow work if you're guided through it well. So shamans who truly respect and care about the medicine are definitely welcome. Drug dealers who think it's like party money time, no, that's not even close to the goal.
Tell us more about what you're doing now,
I'm doing lots of things. So I have my yoga class. I also am a fire dancer at Mila's.
Where is it? Tell everyone.
Okay, so Mondays at 7 p.m. I have a yoga class at the Sagamore. We do switch off. Like one Monday we'll have our acrobatic vinyasa flow where you're challenged to do things your body thinks it can't do. Like forward rolls, cartwheels, backward rolls, handstands, all of the hand balances that people think look so cool and so difficult. And it really just takes focus, concentration, and consistency. So working through that on the acrobatic class, I love bringing people into positions and things they think they can't do. And then they realize, hey, I can do this. It's not so bad. Then on the other Monday, we have our yin firelight flow where we have some meditation. We have like short journaling that goes on where you're really reflecting on your past. You're really being grateful for your present. And then you're really setting intentions for your future. And then we have a short meditation session using fire. It can be a great way to bring focus back. We have lots of monkey mind things that happen, like happened last week. And having a focus to bring your focus back to, I think is very helpful, at least for me, having that fire as this is the root, this is my soul, this is my spirit, this is where my focus is right now. And breathing with the flame almost breathes. Very cool. And then we have deep stretching. Yin yoga uses the breath, the pranayama, to really get into those concrete spaces. So really deepening stretches, really going for splits, really going for pancakes, really going for like full forward fold, heads to knees, definitely working through all of that. I also teach private classes. Those are scheduled individually between whoever. You can go to my link tree, Jazzy Walker, in order to find the links to those. I love doing privates because I love being very hands-on. I love being able to go in depth with people when I'm doing private classes, which I find is the best way to do yoga. If you want to go in depth in yoga, privates are the way to go because everybody's body is different. Especially in group classes, people ask me questions and I want to go into super depth with them, but you have other people. So there's only so much that you can do for each person. When you're in a private classes, you can really put work in and really get people to feel what is supposed to be happening in their bodies. Because just because you're in the position doesn't mean that you're doing it correctly. The position should be benefiting you in some way. If not, it needs to be adjusted. It needs to be modified. Maybe it needs to be harder. Maybe it needs to be easier. Maybe you need to add a twist in there in order to activate the part of your body that we're trying to activate. So I love privates, definitely one of my favorite things to do. Also, I do fire and go-go dancing because I've always loved performing and I love dancing. And fire is one of those things, it's transformative. I think it burns away, it's a lot of shadow work, at least for me. It burns away a lot of the stress, a lot of the anger, a lot of the fear and trauma that I've gone through. And I'm so grateful to have all of these people here in Miami that have opened that up to me. The fire community here is amazing. They're so welcoming and loving and they really invite you in. And I got to try like all of these different props just by asking, you know, can I play with that? Yeah, here you go. You're more than welcome. Do you want me to show you some moves? I love that about them. And I think that's what inspired me to, you know, want to do the collective, is that creative collaboration and love, instead of like my experience with cheerleading and gymnastics where it's very competitive and everybody hates each other and you're trying to shove people down so you're on top, you know. And I love that feeling of, no, let me lift you up and bring you with me because we can do more together than I can by myself. Love that. That's how I feel about fire. I love to have the heat. I love the challenge of it. And I perform at Mila's every Saturday around 10 o'clock. 10:30 is my first set. And I'm looking to get into Satai. I just did my audition on Wednesday. I'll hear back sometime today about whether or not I'm doing that. And then Burning Man Conclave is coming up in August that I may join and do the big fire show there as well. So lots of things, lots of things happening.
Thank you very much for sharing your story. It's amazing.
Thank you, Damien, for having me.
My pleasure.
Oh, wow.